First point. Reaction 1. Point 1 you can keep. What you have kept the heading? How energy released during this respiration is stored, correct? So as we know, two terms we should know. One is ADP, another one is ATP. So first point you should write. The energy released during respiration. The energy released during respiration. The energy released during respiration. The energy released during this during respiration is used to make ATP. Energy released during respiration is used to make ATP. ATP molecules. ATP molecules from ADP. From ADP. From ADP and inorganic phosphate. And inorganic phosphate. The energy released during respiration is used to make ATP molecules from ADP and inorganic phosphate. So under that you write first equation. First equation alone you write, please. All of you write. First equation alone. Under that you should write first equation. Under that you should write first equation. Write it. ADP plus phosphate plus energy from respiration, which will give you ATP. You understand? Completed?
Yes, sir.
Pranita, is it over? Now, next second point. Second point. When the cells needs energy, when the cells needs energy, when the cells needs energy, then ATP can be broken down. Then ATP can be broken down. ATP can be broken down using water. ATP can be broken down using water to release energy. To release energy. To release energy. So down you can write this equation. Second equation this is. This equation you should write. Do you understand now how it is happening? Write this. Very, very important this is. Midinath, is it over?
Yes, sir.
Why again others are not joined? Now, let us go for here. So we'll continue. We need to say. So if we'll observe in this respiration process, means in the sense of when the ATP is releasing, do you know that once this process is taking place in the body, it is about, do you know, 30.5 kilojoules of energy, kilojoules per 1 mole. This much energy will be released. So mole means, mole concept, have you remembered 9th class? Have you remembered or not? Class 9th mole concept chemistry, do you remember? So like
Yes, sir.
1 mole of this substance, understanding, 1 mole of ATP if you take, it is used to release 30.5 kilojoules of energy. That is when this ATP started releasing energy, this much energy will form for each mole of substance. Understand? So this energy released by this ATP is used to carry out all the reactions taking place in the cells. So that reactions also called as endothermic reactions, not exothermic. So whatever the energy released in this ATP process, every process will be useful for all the endothermic reactions which is involved in understanding inside the cells. So if you observe here, please remember this ADP can be converted to ATP by absorbing energy. You can observe here. ADP converted to ATP by absorbing energy. Understand? Which is produced in the respiration reaction. As well as the ATP can be converting into energy. ATP can be converting back into the ADP by releasing energy. Which is used by the cells again and again and again. Understand? So, in these two processes, if you will observe, always ADP will be converting into ATP, ATP will be converting into ADP. Here, absorption of energy, here releasing of energy. So that is why here you can see a continuous supply of energy will be. Continuous supply, understanding? Supply of energy to the organism. That is why we people will feel hungry whenever the energy is not sufficient. We people will feel hungry because always our body is required energy, continuous supply of energy to do this process. ADP into ATP, again ATP back to ADP. Understand, Amma? So now, just like our battery in our home, how it will provide the electrical energy for different kind of purposes like lighting, heating, understand? Like running the radio, running the computer, running the fan, running the fridge. How it will be useful, the same one kind of electrical energy. Same way, whatever the energy stored in this ATP, which is releasing, used by the cells for various purposes, like understand contraction of muscles. My muscles are lifting some load, or else I'm doing some action. So every contraction of my muscles involves this energy. Next, conduction of nerve impulses. Understand? Nerve impulses, you know that information from outside, again from the brain to the body part, some action should be taking place. This all the nerve impulses also, they require energy. So that is taking place from the ATP only. As well as synthesis of proteins and many other activities in our life process. Everything, that functioning of cells, everything is, they will get the energy from this ATP only. So whatever the reactions, endothermic reactions will be carried out by the cells, everything they used to get the energy from this stored ATP only. So that is why we people given some name for this ATP. Understand? Some name for this ATP. That is the name called as, do you know anybody? What is the name given by us for this ATP? ATP. Anybody knows or no? Don't know. Is known as, understanding, currency of cell. That is what?
Energy
Is
currency.
known as currency of cell. Note it down. ATP is known as currency of cell because it is only useful for all the kind of respiration reaction, all the kind of endothermic reactions involved by cells, inside the cells. So that is the reason why we should call it as currency of cell. Please note it down, all of you. Currency of cell. So this is what we used to call how energy is released during respiration. Is there any doubt? You can ask me. If anybody is having any doubt, you can ask me, please. So what are the points you want here? You can note it down. Once if it is completed, you would say me, then we will go for some very important discussions. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, all of you, first drop everything, understanding, and listen carefully. So now whatever I am going to discuss is very, very important, which is useful for the next all the concepts. So that is what I am saying. So first drop all the things, no need to write running notes. First you listen, you try to understand, because all the new things will come, all the new points has been included. So that is why you should listen first, later you can write the notes. That is what I will give. So if it comes to here, we'll discuss few important points. As we know that most of the cases, if you'll observe in our surroundings, the organisms like plants and animals, everything, they will carry out respiration by using a one substance from outside. What is that? Can anybody say? We are taking
sir.
a substance for respiration. What is that substance?
Food.
Not. Food is over. We are taking some substance for respiration process. I am asking, not for digestion.
Carbon dioxide.
For respiration, I am asking. What I am taking?
Carbon dioxide. Oxygen, sir.
Yes or no? Ma, releasing energy. What I am taking? Oxygen only, correct?
Oxygen, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, understand, if you observe the most of the plants and most of the animals in our surroundings, understanding, like us human beings, animals like cow, cat, buffalo, whatever it is, horse, lion, tigress, whatever you are seeing, everything the oxygen, understanding, from the outside only. By using oxygen only, they are carrying out the respiration. So this kind of respiration, who is doing the respiration by using oxygen, they are called as, understand, they are called as aerobic respiration. What we should call?
Aerobic respiration.
What, sir? Sir, say again, sir.
Respiration. Wait. So if you take any kind of organism which will carry out respiration, by using oxygen, they are called as aerobic respiration. Do you understand, Amma? So the type of respiration is called as aerobic respiration. Now, Ma, somebody is making noise. Please unmute yourself. Now, if it comes to here, some organisms are still present which they can carry out, understanding, respiration without oxygen. Understand? So still the respiration will take place. So that kind of oxygen, that kind of organisms are called as, understand, that kind of respiration is called as anaerobic.
Anaerobic respiration.
ANAE, understand? ROBIC, anaerobic respiration. So remember, this respiration will be carried out with the help of oxygen. This one without oxygen. By using oxygen, aerobic respiration. Without using oxygen, anaerobic respiration. Now, understanding, before we discuss what is aerobic and anaerobic respiration, that is what our next concept. We should know the few points in mind which will help us in understanding this both aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Anybody wants to ask me anything? Somebody is asking. Can you please?
In plants,
What?
anaerobic respiration takes in
What?
place. In plants,
In plants, not. Some organisms, I will say you. What is that? Do you understand? Plants also aerobic respiration only. Is it okay, da?
okay, sir.
Plants will release oxygen, understanding, but as well as they will take oxygen also for respiration. Do you understand?
Okay.
That is what you should remember. Some organisms, single cell organisms, multi-cell organisms, some organisms will be there which will carry it out, understanding, without oxygen. So that is what we will discuss. You don't worry. First you will listen. So if you want to understand this aerobic and anaerobic respiration, we should know the few points before going to this concept. So that is what we will discuss now. So you all must remember that point. So as we know that aerobic respiration means what? What is aerobic respiration? Respiration carried out? Carried out by what?
Using oxygen.
Carried out by using oxygen is called as aerobic respiration. Respiration carried out without oxygen is called as anaerobic respiration. Understand? So now, let us see. Before going to study this, what is aerobic and anaerobic respiration, let us discuss the few points. Understanding. Later only we can go to that concept. So the first point, let us see. What is the glucose formula? Anybody? First point. What is the glucose formula? Glucose formula.
C6H12O6. C6H12O6.
You people don't know. What is glucose?
C6.
Glucose formula.
C6H12O6.
C6H12O6.
Let us see. Others don't speak. Only Arvind will speak. Arvind, is it a simple substance or complex substance? Is it a simple substance or simple food or complex food? Glucose.
Simple, sir.
Simple food or complex food?
Simple, sir.
Simple food. Now if you'll observe, let me say, who will say? So now, Dileepan, can you say how many carbons are present here in this glucose?
6.
6. Kevin, how many carbons are present in this? How many carbons are present in this glucose? How many carbons? 6 carbons.
6, sir.
So if you
6, sir.
understand this, so glucose is a, understanding, glucose is a C6H12O6 is a 6 carbon atom compound. It is what? It is a 6 carbon atom compound. That is what you should remember. And the first point what you should remember is this glucose is the simple food which is oxidized in the cells of organism during respiration. That is the first point you should remember. Glucose is the 6 carbon atom compound, understand, which is oxidized in the, which oxidized, understanding, it is only going to oxidize, correct or not? Which is oxidized, understanding, in cells of organism during when, during which reaction? Organism during which reaction it is oxidized?
Respiration.
Respiration.
Respiration. That is what? During respiration, this is what going to oxidize. That is the first point. It is not a difficult point, which we already know it. Now, let us get to the second point. So now you will observe here, this oxidation of glucose, understand, the oxidation of glucose, let me write, the oxidation of glucose, somebody's sound is coming, please mute yourself, whenever it is required you can on. So if you remember here, this oxidation of glucose to pyruvic acid, this glucose is converting into, understanding, pyruvic acid, PYRU. Now please mute, air sound is coming. Pyruvic acid. Akhil, yours only, Ra. So what I'm saying here, so this glucose, understanding, in the oxidation of glucose, it will be converting into what? Pyruvic acid. So this process is only called as, converting the glucose into pyruvic acid is only called as glycolysis. What we should call them? Glycolysis. That is what you should
Glycolysis.
Glycolysis.
So this pyruvic acid also is to called as pyruvate. What we should call? Pyruvate. P-Y-R-U-V-A-T. Pyruvate. This process is called as glycolysis. So if you remember here, this glycolysis process, conversion of this oxidation of glucose into pyruvic acid, pyruvate, will be occurs in the, understanding, will be occurs in the cytoplasm. Do you remember the cytoplasm? Cell, body
Yes,
cell.
sir.
Cytoplasm.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Cytoplasm of a cell. Understanding, cytoplasm of a cell, not in mitochondria. Not in mitochondria, sir. But before you said that energy is released in mitochondria, correct, sir? But that is what I am saying. Energy will be released, but that is final product. Middle, glucose is converting into pyruvic acid. That is what I said. Respiration is a stepwise process. Do you understand? Ashika said that, sir, both are same, correct, sir? No. Understand, Amma? So, this will be takes place in cytoplasm of a cell, not in.
Sir, so after this only ATP and ADP molecules are released, sir.
Mitochondria.
Okay, sir.
So mid product is pyruvic acid, which will be takes place in the cytoplasm of the cell. Understand, Amma? So now, if you observe here, again this oxidation of glucose to pyruvic acid, remember, does not require oxygen. It's not required any oxygen. That is the most important thing. So whenever this oxidation of glucose to pyruvic acid, it is taking place, it does not require oxygen. Understand? Because if you'll see, one molecule of glucose, if you take C6H12O6, C6H12O6. One molecule of glucose on glycolysis by that process name called as what? Glycolysis can produce two molecules of pyruvic acid. One molecule of glucose can produce two molecules of what? Two molecules of pyruvic acid produce. Understand? And also it contains here itself oxygen is present. So in this oxidation process, understand this oxidation of glucose, the pyruvic acid does not require any kind of oxygen. That is what you should remember. So now, once the pyruvic acid is over, so if you take pyruvic acid,
Sir, I cannot understand this.
pyruvic, whenever it is glucose is converting into pyruvic acid, there the oxygen is not required.
How it will convert, sir?
Sir, but oxidation you have written no,
Why
sir.
means, listen, that is oxidation of glucose. That is oxidation of glucose in the sense of full process. We are calling as full process. Now here what is happening? Just glucose is breaking into two simpler substances. That is called as pyruvate molecules. Nothing is happening. Understanding? Oxygen,
Okay.
that process of oxidation will take place, but first it will break it into two simple pyruvate molecules. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
That is what. That is why oxygen is not
By
required.
breaking oxygen
Yeah.
is needed, but a pyruvic acid does not contain oxygen,
Yes.
sir.
Actually, we are adding the oxygen. That is why it is called as oxidation of glucose. But in this process, here first what is happening? This glucose is dividing into two pyruvate molecules. Each molecule of one glucose is separating into two pyruvate molecules. Later oxidation process will take place. Do you understand? Do you understand or not?
Yes, sir.
All of you.
Sir, then in which step does oxidation takes place?
Oxidation of glucose, it is called as respiration process. But this respiration process, middle some steps will be involved. Understanding, Amma? So these steps, you remember, oxidation will be used. But when? Before going for the oxidation, these glucose will be converting into the pyruvic acid. So this pyruvic acid, how each one molecule of this glucose will become two molecules of pyruvic acid. So means in the sense of pyruvic acid, how many carbon atom will be present? It is going into two molecules. Means in the sense of how many?
Sir.
It will be become
Three, sir.
three
Three,
carbon
sir.
atom compound. Understand? So pyruvic acid is a 3 carbon atom compound. It is also used to called as pyruvate. So each one molecule of glucose will be converting into two molecules of pyruvate. So the formula of this pyruvic acid or pyruvate is, remember, CH3
3.
COOH. This is the formula of pyruvic acid. All of you should remember. CH3 COOH. Understand why I am writing like this means you are not studying till now carbonates compounds. Yes or no? Once if we study the carbonates compound, these pyruvic acid we can write in the form of bonds and all. Understand? In class 8 you may remember oxygen I used to say double bond. Is it yes or no? When you are remembering class 8, oxygen is represented with a double bond. Understand, Amma? You people don't know that, but I am saying, so this is the formula of pyruvic acid. Pyruvic acid, that is what you should remember. So which is also used to represent like this, CH3, C double bond O. You can understand once it is, if I will teach the carbonates compounds, then only you can understand this. Understand, Amma? And this COOH is called as a functional group. You no need to worry now. If you don't know also, no need to worry. So this is called as functional group. Understand? So now, this is a 3 carbons are present. 1, 2, 3. 3 carbons are present. And this is called as carboxylic group. Carboxylic functional group. So that is why this name of this one is called as ketonic. Understanding? Ketonic carboxylic acid. Ketonic carboxylic acid. Note it, just you note it down, that's all. So how it will come and all chemistry only you will understand. If I will say this also now you people cannot understand because without knowing that carbonates compounds you cannot understand anything. Just to remember Pyruvic acid is a 3-carbon atom compound, which is also used to called as what? Pyruvate. Understand? And the formula is CH3COCOOH. That's all. Understand? Say yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
No.
Yes, sir.
Observe here. This is what the point. Pyruvate formula, and each glucose is converting into how many pyruvates? 2 molecules.
Molecules of
2
pyruvate.
molecules of pyruvate.
Let us go for next point. If you'll observe here, the fate of this pyruvate formed during respiration depends on whether oxygen is present in the cells or not. Understand? So, if you'll observe here, if oxygen is present in the cells, the pyruvate is completely oxidized to carbon dioxide and water, and a lot of energy is produced in the form of ATP. Understand? If, however, if oxygen is not present in the cells, means in the sense of the absence of oxygen, these pyruvate or pyruvic acid is converting into, understand, ethanol. Either it is converting into ethanol or carbon dioxide. That is what you should remember. If oxygen is present in the cells, this pyruvate is converting completely, completely oxidized to carbon dioxide and water, as well as a lot of energy will be released. If suppose the cells are not having oxygen, then it will be, the pyruvate will be converting into either ethanol and carbon dioxide or lactic acid. It may be converting into carbon dioxide or lactic acid in the presence of oxygen, in the absence of oxygen.
Absence of oxygen.
That is what we can say. This pyruvate, which is formed during this respiration, depends whether an oxygen is present or not. It is. If it is present, as well as our energy will release, means in the sense of ATP, it will be converting into ATP. Huge amount of energy will be produced. If no oxygen is present in the cells, then instead of converting into the carbon dioxide, water and lot of energy, it will be converting into what? Carbon dioxide, ethanol. Understand? That is either ethanol or
Lactic acid.
lactic acid, depending on whether such a process is taking place in a plant cell or animal cell. So in the absence of oxygen in a cells, plant cells or animal cells, we may use to get the 3 products: ethanol, carbon dioxide or lactic acid. If it is oxygen is present, then we used to get only 3 products. What is that? Carbon dioxide, water, as well as energy. That's all. This is common when oxygen is present in the cells. That is why pyruvic acid, oxygen is not required. Do you understand, Amma? Why oxygen is not required? There just it is breaking into 2 substances. That's all. 2 molecules of pyruvic acid. Later, this pyruvic acid is reacting with oxygen, and it is used to form carbon dioxide, water, as well as energy. Do you understand, Amma?
In the absence of oxygen, all the 3 will be released, or and the 3 are any one.
In the absence of oxygen, carbon dioxide, either ethanol or carbon dioxide will release. Ethanol and carbon dioxide, or ethanol and lactic acid will release. That is the meaning of it. Do you understand? Ethanol and carbon dioxide. In the absence of oxygen, ethanol and carbon dioxide, or ethanol or lactic acid will release. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay, ma'am. So in the absence of oxygen, if oxygen is not present in the cells, understand, then the pyruvic acid may converting into ethanol and carbon dioxide or lactic acid. That is depending on either it is taking place in plant cell or animal cell. That is what you should remember. Understanding, Amma? But in this situation, in the absence of oxygen, you should remember much less energy is released. Understand? In the absence of oxygen, very less energy is released. Less energy is released. This is what the 4th point. Now, let us comes to the last point. If we take here, understand, lactic acid. So lactic acid is also may produced in the absence of oxygen. Is it yes or no, Amma? Ethanol and carbon dioxide or lactic acid will produce. Now if we take this lactic acid also a 3 carbon atom compound. Understanding, Amma? So this lactic acid is also what? 3 carbon atom compound. 3 carbon atom compound. So now in this, if you observe, understand this lactic acid also we used to call it as lactate. What we should call? Lactate. So the formula of this lactic acid is, remember, CH3, understanding, OH and COOH. This is the formula of lactic acid. CH3, CHOH, COOH. Actually, this OH will come down. So that is why you people are pronouncing it is difficult. So CH3, CHCOOH, and down we used to get OH. That is what you should remember. So this is a OH group and as well as carboxylic group. So that we can call this as hydroxy. Also we can call it as hydroxy carboxylic acid. The naming of the compound and all we'll study in the chemistry, carbonates compound. Now you cannot do anything, just you have to remember that, sir. So lactic acid also we can call it as lactate and also we used to call it as hydroxy carboxylic acid. And this is the formula, CH3, CHCOOH and down OH. If you want, you can keep the bond here also. CH3 bond and COOH single bond. CHCOOH. This is the formula. This is also 3 carbons. 1, 2, 3. So this is the lactic acid. Do you understand, Amma? So this is the points you should remember. If you remember this, then we can go for types of respiration. That is what in the next class. I hope you all noted down these points. Yes or no? Have you noted down?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So you just make a quick notes. Later I will give you the notes exactly. So you should remember now. One more point you should learn from this point. So middle, instead of directly converting into the energy, one more product is forming. What is that? Glucose is converting into
Pyruvic acid.
Pyruvic acid.
Pyruvate. So this pyruvate is going to oxidize to release the energy called as
ADP.
Understand? That is what.
ADP.
So that is when it will be takes place. When it will be takes place in the presence of oxygen, what we should call? In the presence of oxygen, what we should call? That process is named as presence
Aerobic respiration.
Aerobic respiration.
absence of
Aerobic
oxygen, anaerobic respiration.
Anaerobic respiration.
Anaerobic respiration.
Depend upon the cell type, maybe a plant cell or animal cell. Understanding? Absence of oxygen. Either what we used to get? Ethanol and carbon dioxide or lactic acid.
It's not lactic.
Lactic acid.
Lactic acid we used to get. That is what you should remember. So if you remember this, then from tomorrow's class we will continue types of respiration. Is it okay, Ra?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Here you don't get confused. Sir, if this formula we are unable to understand. Actually, this is the formulas which you should study. But once you people can able to write your own formula, once you will study the carbonates compounds. That is I will teach you because chemistry will study, correct? So but you directly you can remember this. Understand? Actually here COOH is a functional group of carboxylic acid. So that is why carboxylic acid is coming. Like that one OH is coming. Well, that is why it is hydroxy. OH is alcohol group. So that is why hydroxy is coming. Like that is some naming will be there that I will teach you. Don't worry. After that only you can understand. Just to directly remember now. That's all. So 3 names for lactic acid. Lactic acid, lactate and
hydroxy carbon.
So now with this I will,
Hydroxycarbon.
and from tomorrow we'll continue.